Welcome to the San Mateo-Foster City School District regular board meeting. Today's May 23rd, 2024, and I'm calling the meeting to order at 2:05 p.m. We're going to go to item two, public comment on closed session items. Do we have any public comment in the room here? No. Joe, do we have any public comment on Zoom? Okay, we're going to go to item 3. We will recess to closed session and we'll be back in a bit. We're reconvening to our regular meeting with one item to report out from closed session. So I will read the report out. The board took action by unanimous vote to adopt the superintendent designee's administrative decision issued to each complainant based on insufficient evidence to overturn each decision. However, the board has concerns with the maintenance, operations, and transportation department. Accordingly, the board directs administration to collaborate with department staff to address these concerns. So we will move on to item 4A, which is the flag salute. So please stand and join me in the pledge.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Kim? Here. Trustee Watkins? Here. Trustee Trin? Here. And I'm here as well. Item 4C is the approval of agenda for tonight's meeting.
I want to just request that we move up the retiree recognition first, because I know that folks have been waiting. So if we could just if I can make a motion to approve the agenda with retiree recognition immediately following the approval of minutes from last meeting.
All right, so thank you, Trustee Watkins, for the motion and Trustee Trin for the second, with moving the retiree recognition to the first item after the approval of minutes. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any whatever? Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that approves. That is passed unanimously. Sorry, I can't speak. We've started this at 2:00, so I'm already ready to go to bed. Item 4D is the approval of the minutes from the March 28th meeting. Okay, thank you, Trustee Brooks for the motion and Trustee Kim for the second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passed. Okay, we'll go on to 5F, which is the retiree recognition.
Trustees and Superintendent Ochoa and esteemed guests, it is so nice to see a packed house tonight to celebrate the lives, the work lives, the personal lives, the school lives of all of our people. I want to just really shout out to all of our retirees in the audience. Thank you so much for your lifelong service to our kids in this district, our kids in other districts. Thank you for all that you do. Whether you're certificated or classified, it takes all of us to educate and support and nurture our kids. So I want to give you a huge round of applause right now. Thank you. And with no further ado, we're going to get started with our first school, which is Brewer Island. So Ms. Stefan, if you would join us, please.
Okay, good evening. Oh, I'll wait. No.
Yes, please do.
Okay, here we go. So good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Ochoa, staff, and guests. It's an honor to recognize this evening one of Brewer Island's retirees, Sharon Hasselbach. So Sharon has served our district for a total of 30 years. The first 4 years at Foster City Elementary, and then the remaining at Brewer Island. And while she was at Foster City, she taught PMT. So that's like PAE for our TK to second grade students. She was the chairman for the school site council, a room parent for 3 classrooms, an auditor for the PTA, the chair of the promotion committee for a couple of years, and received a Founders Day award. So then she transitioned to us at Brewer Island, and she has taught PMT for grades TK to 2. She's also been a noontime supervisor during the lunch hour for over 20 years in combination, and she also received a Founders Day award at Brewer Island. So I've had the pleasure of working alongside Sharon, a true partnership during the lunch hour and as the principal for the past 5 years. And in addition to teaching PMT, as the noontime monitor, she literally goes above and beyond. She has coordinated the ballroom monitors and the ballroom itself, prepared the list for recess equipment purchase frequently, has updated the ballroom rules for many years. She helps teach the lunchtime rules at the beginning of the year. She monitors the lunch area where everyone eats and everyone has been safe. And anything that is ever asked of Sharon is always yes. She truly cares about children and helping them to learn and grow. So a new chapter begins next year without you, and you will be missed. Congratulations on your retirement. Thank you for your 30 years of service to our children and community, and may the next chapter be as bright as it was here. So, thank you.
Next, we have Bowditch. Caleb, come on up.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Caleb Bowers, Principal at Bowditch. This is Stacy Sierra, 6th grade social studies. We are here to honor our friend Amelia Hogsworth tonight. So you can, if you want to sit there and listen, if you want to start walking, whatever you feel like doing, whatever you want to do. All right. Amelia has been at Bowditch for 23 years. She has taught both language arts and then moved on to social studies. She has not only served our community as an outstanding teacher, but has also served as a PTA teacher rep, a SMETA rep, and participated on the negotiations team for several years. She has also served on many of our school committees, including the safety team, leadership, school site council, and has hosted several student clubs. Amelia has greatly contributed to the morale of our fellow staff members by spreading sunshine on our social committee, planning parties, gatherings, weddings, baby celebrations, and more. She considered Bowditch to be her work family, and she is truly one of the kindest, most loyal members of our Bowditch family. She has comforted, consoled, and advised all of us. Her wisdom, warm smile, and her courtyard supervision will be greatly missed. We wish her a long, healthy, and happy retirement. Congratulations and cheers.
And just so that we know, we do waive the requirements for volunteers. You can come right back. Have a nice summer. Come right back. You can always volunteer. And you'll be with all your friends.
All right, for this next honoree, I would like to invite Superintendent Ochoa to step to the podium to roast, to honor Mr. Dennis Gills. Come on up, Mr. Dennis Gills.
Being in a position to work with so many, really, you can go shake their hands.
I want to hear this.
Being in a position to work with so many great people in this district, over 1,200 employees in this school district, you find people where they are, whether it's a playground at Fiesta Gardens or whether it's a classroom at Baywood, and even sometimes here in the HR department. Dennis Hills has provided over 30 years of service to public school students. He started his career many, many years ago with me down in San Diego, in the same district, but not at the same school. And we never knew each other then, although we would have been fabulous friends if we had. But Dennis worked with one of our incredible departments here in the HR department, and really became a mainstay for administrators in this district, and for all of the employees who came into HR needing somebody to listen to them and needing somebody to connect with them. And 3 years ago, I knocked on his door and said, "Hey, would you be interested in a promotion and changing everything about your job overnight?" And to his credit, he had actually been a superintendent in a different district, so it really came naturally to him. But we said, let's really try to create school environments where children of color feel that they're going to get a fair shake every day at school, and where children who identify as LGBTQ plus know that they're safe, and where our staff members know what to do and how to get help for themselves and for their students when they need it. And the job really entailed creating something that didn't exist. And that can scare a lot of people, but it didn't scare Dennis. He's the school district's resident troublemaker here at the district office. He has brightened up literally every meeting he's been in since the day he got to this district. Tonight, we are proposing to the school board a resolution that has his fingerprints all over it, and I'm really excited about that resolution. I'm sad to see him go, but like so many in the district, we'll remain friends with Dennis for years to come, and we absolutely wish him the best in his retirement.
Next, we have Fiesta Gardens. Danielle, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Buenas tardes. It is an honor for me to be able to recognize Kathy Noceda. No sería justo hablar de la maestra Kathy sin decir por lo menos algo en español. Kathy's legacy has been enriching bilingual education for many years. She started in the 70s, late 70s at San Francisco as a bilingual aide, back when BCLAD and testing wasn't necessary. And she had her first year teaching in San Francisco in the Mission. She lived in Mexico for 14 years, in Ciudad de México and Tepoztlán, perdón. And after that, she returned to California and taught at Turnbull in 1998 when it was still a bilingual school. Her son, Pablo, was in the first class of Fiesta Gardens in first grade. She has been here since 2008 at Fiesta Gardens, and her legacy will always be remembered. Thank you, maestra.
Next, Amanda, you're up.
I have the great privilege and opportunity to honor two special people from Foster City School, and I'm wondering if you guys would like to come up to the front. Try something a little bit different. So I'm going to start by first saying congratulations and thank you for all of the work that you have done over the last decades. So tonight we want to celebrate Ms. Wendy Gilbert, who's been a wonderful part of Foster City School for 20 years. She is part of our kindergarten team, and kindergarten at Foster City School is magical, and Ms. Gilbert is this magic. She's taught our youngest learners not only academics, but also important life skills they'll carry with them forever. Her dedication, kindness, and love for teaching have touched so many lives. She's inspired many to come back and to become teachers themselves. She inspires adults and students to continue to learn, and students truly remember her always. So I do have a couple sound bites, but I'm going to also say some things about you, and then I have some sound bites from some students. Okay. So I've known you for a very long time, Ms. Jeanette Wong, who has spent an incredible 27 years at Foster City School. And she's shaped so many of our students with her passion, her patience, her endless dedication, and her influence goes beyond the classroom. She's inspiring students to be curious, to be confident, to be kind. And I just wanted to say thank you for all of your amazing work. Like I said, I know I'm going over time, but I have a couple sound bites. The first thing is from your students. Now, this is from the students currently. I want to be very clear. They want to say thank you, Mrs. Wong, for inspiring us and guiding us in 4th grade. Thank you for being kind, especially when we were naughty. So we're going to see if this works. This is going to be super quick. So Miss Gilbert also has the opportunity to see her students starting in kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. And so we have a current student that has a few things to say.
I'm gonna miss Mrs. Gill because she's very kind and super duper enthusiastic and happy always.
And then a former student, I promise I'm almost done.
Yep. Mrs. Gilbert was one of the most amazing teachers, and I will miss her because she was so kind and patient with her students.
And Miss Wong. We have one more.
Mrs. Wong, you're the best teacher I've ever had, and I'll really miss you, and I hope you'll come to visit everyone next year in 5th grade.
Thank you all for your service.
Next up, we have Highlands. Carrie, come on up.
This is Terry Fair. Big crowd here. Let's wave from Highlands. Terry Fair is famous. She has a very deep dedication to teaching and learning. She has a strong commitment to social justice, poetry, history, and she's a great storyteller. She shares her knowledge and her experience with her students and staff all the time. So thank you for that. Ms. Fair is beloved in our community, and she's set the bar really high for her students and for us as her colleagues. So thank you for that. A few of her colleagues shared with me that she embodies persistence, tenacity, and she has a great sense of humor. This lady has a great laugh too. Terry, you'll be very missed at Highlands. We wish you well in your retirement, and please know that you have made an indelible impact on many, many children and adults. So thank you.
Thank you. I would like to paraphrase Einstein and say you can standardize automobiles, but not humans.
So then we have North Shore View. Laura, you're on.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent Ochoa. I am so honored and humbled to be able to speak about two amazing North Shoreview staff members. I'm going to get choked up, so please forgive me. But I would like to bring up Vicki Benson, please, and Margot Nielsen. He has been our librarian, our school office assistant, and our school supervision aide. She has the biggest shoes to fill, and I'm not sure how I'm going to fill it. So if anybody can help me, that would be great. She did promise to come back and visit, so I may have to put her to work next year as a volunteer. But Vicki has been at North Shoreview for over 25 years in these roles. But before that, she was actually a parent, a volunteer, and so many other roles that she played at the school. So we are so sad, but excited for her to turn that that page in her chapter and have a wonderful time with her two dogs, her two cats, a bird, and a turtle, and her husband too. So sorry, Russ. I'd like to now speak about Margot Nielsen. Margot Nielsen is the quintessential Montessori teacher. She has been at North Shoreview for 28 years, but her career goes far beyond that, into the 40-something years. 47 years. So the one thing about Margot I'm going to completely miss is whenever I go into her classroom, she always summons me and says, let me show you what the students are doing. So she's always teaching me, and I'm going to be very sad to lose my teacher. But for Margot, she gets to go home to a brand new baby grandchild named Jamie. So we can't argue with this retirement. So anyway, we're thrilled and we're really excited for Margot as she goes on and does wonderful things in her life. And we will miss both of these people terribly at North Shoreview. So thank you.
San Mateo Park is next. Carrie, you're up.
Oh, no, you can't retire, no. I thought, who is she here to celebrate? I want to retire, what's this?
Yes, tonight I get to celebrate Kimberly Amoroso. On behalf of San Mateo Park Elementary School, we would like to acknowledge and thank Miss Amoroso for her 28 years at San Mateo Park Elementary School and her 30 years in education. Kimberly has worked with her grade level team to ensure that all students had an enriching and educational experience. She embraces new initiatives and is a lifelong learner. In addition, she participated on our community schools steering committee and helped establish our school's green team. Ms. Amoroso will be truly missed by the students, families, and staff. San Mateo Park will not be the same without her. I've already told her she has to come back when she's ready to volunteer. And we wish her the best in her retirement. So that's for you. And this is for you too.
So a little birdie just whispered in my ears that this is Miss Fayer's 56th year in education.
Miss Amoroso can start all over again. 28 plus 28.
Okay, I'm gonna reject her retirement. Sounds perfect. So with that, I would like to give everyone another huge. Do we have any folks that have come?
Tiffany.
I have one. Excellent, come on up.
Kimmy. Yep. We're here to honor Kimmy Nguyen. Kimmy worked for the Annex for a little over 11 years. She was at multiple school sites, forming invaluable relationships at every single one of them. One of my favorite memories of Kimmy is celebrating a significant birthday. I won't give the number, but her daughter, who also worked for the Annex, came and we celebrated at Baywood with cake. Do you remember? Yeah. And it was a glorious moment with all the children and the staff to come celebrate Kimmy on that special day. And we wish Kimmy the best in her next adventures, and hope they're filled with love and happiness and family. Thank you. Thank you.
In just a minute, we're going to invite all of our retirees to come and take photographs together as a group, and then with families, take photographs. And you start to add up the years of service to public education and to the children in San Mateo, Foster City. And we're in the hundreds. It's been a long time. And in our profession, you just keep getting up every day and you keep going back and it's like hope springs eternal. And you have this belief that you can help these children get to that next step. And all of you embody that. Time, these experiences you have with the people you work with, the people who are in this room, and the people back at home who miss you because you stayed that extra hour after, because you dragged them to another evening event at your school, and because you wouldn't stop going on and on at dinner about this student or that coworker or this, right? And to be honest, you've forgotten a lot, you know. There's so much that goes on. You forget those moments that were peaceful and those moments that were beautiful and those moments that were special. But all of you have done so much that children will remember forever. And that message we heard on the telephone from our young principal over there with the technology and dragging us into the future, kicking and screaming. You know, these kids remember what you told them and they remember what you did. And I want you all to take that away from you. Give it up one more time for our retirees. Let's take a 10-minute break and take some photos and congratulate all of our retirees.
Are we live? Yeah, I think we're live. Okay, everyone, we are going to go to 5A, which is public statements related to non-agenda topics. The San Mateo Foster City School Board cannot act upon any matter that has not been included and publicly posted on the agenda, except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. The board may refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation and/or action where appropriate. Please limit your statements to 3 minutes. Does anyone in the audience here have public statements related to non-agenda topics? No. Joe, anyone on Zoom?
No comment on Zoom at this time.
5B is public statements related to agenda items. Persons will be called on at the appropriate time. We will go to 5C, which is Foundation, Committee, and PTA Council reports. And I know we have Colleen on Zoom for the Ed Foundation. So Joe, would you mind bringing her forward? Colleen Sullivan.
Let me find them. And then also one person just raised their hand. You were looking for her again?
Colleen Sullivan, but she also might be the person with her hand raised. Maybe she said that's me with her hand raised.
I do not see her. Derek Vroom.
Okay, Derek Room, please go ahead. Sorry, that's Colleen Sullivan, and I always forget to change my Zoom name. I'm sorry, people. Good evening, President Proctor, School Board.
Are you on mute?
I don't know.
We can hear you. Just speak louder.
Okay, I will speak louder. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah, I could hear that echo. Good evening.
Having an audio problem right now.
Do I have an audio problem? Can you hear me? Allison, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay. I'm Colleen Sullivan, the interim San Mateo-Foster City Education Foundation Executive Director. And first, I wanted to congratulate all the retirees who have just been honored. I was hoping to honor them before they got honored, but I know you guys had a very long afternoon. So I wanted to thank them for everything that they've done for our students in our community and give them best wishes for their new adventures. But for all of you and anyone who is listening to the meeting, our Ed Foundation will be giving our check presentation to the district at the June 27th school board meeting. And currently we are looking for board members and volunteers. So if anyone is interested in joining our board, our election will be June 18th, but we do rolling elections. And we're looking for a marketing chair, fundraising chair, a content creator, a technology chair, and people to join our readathon committee, because as of today, we are kicking off our readathon for 2025, which will be in January. And many community members choose to volunteer at their school sites, but if you are a person who is passionate about impacting the education of all our district students, please consider joining our team. We are also looking for a permanent part-time executive director, and we will be posting that job description and application process very soon. So I wish you a short meeting this evening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Colleen, for that update. Do we have anyone from the PTA Council? Oh, yes, Marissa, come on up.
To the young principal on the phone, equally in person for old school.
First, thank you for having us here. Appreciate that to the trustees and Superintendent Ochoa. I'm Marissa McMurray, president of the San Mateo-Foster City School District PTA, representing the 21 units of each of our schools. It's a crazy time of year for us, and I imagine equally so for you. I don't know what happened after spring break other than spelling bees and science fairs and concerts and drama performances, and now we're looking at promotions, and my head is spinning, and I know that's for each of you here supporting the same kiddos. So thank you for joining us in this rush and keeping your heads barely above water. Our PTA units are very proud of some of the work we've done this year, flexing a little bit of our advocacy muscle. Many of you have heard about the Vision Zero or Safe Streets project that I can take absolutely no credit for, other than for existing on the PTA that welcomed Brian Myers and others who have passionately taken on that project and making it safer for our kiddos getting to school. We've also been a partner with Ed Foundation and Desmond Hua. I assume everyone here has heard of him, seventh grader extraordinaire, who has brought Trash for Treats now 2 years in a row. This year we had 12 schools participating, and he estimates just under 1,200 students. Amazing work with one student who has championed that project. So we're so proud to be even close to a part of that. Lastly, PTA is often known for our on-campus efforts. So collectively, from 17 of our 21 units, we are reporting just shy of 55,000 volunteer hours this school year. I've given that a modest $25 per hour value, which is probably insulting, but even at that, you're at $1,375,000 in grunt work. And not exactly grunt work. We all love what we're doing, but likewise, that's probably 35 full-time positions that have been filled, if you will, by parents coming in and doing all of the work that we love to join you in getting done. We will report back either at June with a cooler check than the Ed Foundation. I'm joking, Colleen, but on our actual dollars contributed for the staffing that we often support on the back end. And we thank you again for partnering with us to allow that to happen, and for all you do. And I hope you all enjoy a very short meeting and a wonderful summer after the June meeting. Thank you.
Date. We have committee reports. Anyone? Hello? Okay. Then we will move on to item 5D, SMETA, CSEA, and SMFCAA updates. We'll start with Kathy since she's on her way up.
Good evening, everyone. Since we last met, it seems like a really long time ago, but it actually was just a couple weeks. SMETA negotiations team met and settled our reopener contract for 2024-2025. The SMETA members voted for it, and it passed last week, and it's up for approval tonight. SMETA would like to thank the district's bargaining team for our collaboration around hours, safety, and salary. And we look forward to starting the process all over again next year. So at the beginning of this month, we also had a really successful SMETA member and school board member listening session. We'd like to express our thanks to Trustee Kim and Trustee Watkins for attending that session and spending their time listening to our input, the posters of which are now decorating my office. But definitely, I think it was really appreciated for you to take the time to listen to this, and we look forward to continuing these conversations in the coming year. I also want to express my gratitude to our Ed Foundation and for their continued generous support that helped fund our close to $10,000 in grants this year. Along with SMETA, we partnered together to give grants to for teachers and SMETA members to help in their classrooms, with students throughout the district. So thank you for that matching donation. And I also want to congratulate our members who finished their first 2 years of teaching, successfully completing the induction program. I believe that it was celebrated yesterday, I think. And thanks, of course, all to the mentors who help guide and support them, our newest members to our district. I also, of course, want to express my congratulations to all of our retiring staff members, all of their years of dedication and time enriching the lives of our students and our staffs alike. We look forward to celebrating our SMETA retirees during our social next week. And as we round out the next 12 days of our school year, I think, we have promotions and award ceremonies and field days and celebrations and times kind of wrapping up our year with our students. I want to continue to express my gratitude for leading this incredible team of hardworking, caring people who make up our SMETA membership. And I wish everybody a seamless end of the year and a relaxing summer. Thank you.
Hi again. Long time no see. It's been a long day, guys. Short and sweet. It's Classified School Employee Week, so I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of our classified employees for everything that they do across the district. The teachers are amazing at teaching the students, and the classified employees are amazing at doing everything else. So thank you all for everything. That's all I've got. Short and sweet, short and sweet.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Erin Felix, and I am the proud principal of Baywood Elementary. Tonight, I'd like to recognize the growth and creativity of our amazing students. Over the past school year, I've been in many classrooms for different reasons, and the piece that sticks out to me the most are our students' abilities to explain and present what they know and are curious about. From TK students sharing insights about sunlight, zone, ocean creatures, to second graders presenting their fairy tale Lego designs, these students were articulate and joyful in explaining their creations and their understandings. We recently held our science fair. Our 4th and 5th graders were exploring scientific concepts like the airflow impact on airplanes and the chemical makeup in soil. Each presentation was a testament to their dedication, their effort, and their inquisitiveness. These presentations reflect not only the academic growth of our students, but also their ability to articulate ideas and engage with their peers and an audience. Through their presentations, our students have demonstrated resilience, collaboration, risk-taking, and a willingness to explore new concepts. As educators, we are so proud to witness their progress and we look forward to supporting their continued development as confident communicators and lifelong learners. The year has flown by. Our students have sprouted in height and have grown immensely in their confidence, and we look forward to a celebratory end of the year. Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Ochoa, and President Proctor, and trustees. My name is Carrie Betty. I'm the principal at Highlands Elementary School. It's been busy up at Highlands this spring. We started the month of May off by sending our 4th graders on their annual overnight trip to Coloma it's a culminating event for their Gold Rush unit. And all the kids got to go this year, which is great. They had a great play before as well, where they did a Gold Rush little play in Reader's Theater. Our 1st through 5th graders did a Willy Wonka Jr. performance. It was an after-school program. We added in our 1st graders this year, and they rose to the occasion and were spectacular performers. It's so great to see students who might not be theatrical really step up to the plate and show their budding acting skills. We had a real big open house a couple weeks ago. Our whole community comes out to that, which is great. I want to shout out to our teachers for putting on great projects for our students all year and helping our students put together kind of portfolios to present for their families. Field Day is coming up. It won't be on our new field yet. That's coming next winter, I think. Winter. But it's June 3rd. It's always great. I want to thank our PE teacher, Miss T, and Coach Meliame, who put it together for the whole school. If anyone's available to come out, it's 8:30 to 10:30, and it's a great event. You're welcome to join us. I think next year as well, I just wanted to highlight that we are a school that will be one of the inclusive model schools. And we're really excited about that, about partnering with our special education department and consultants for really ensuring that all students are included at Highlands. We had a SDC class for the first time many years up there, and it's been a great success. So I'm excited about that continued work. And then we are eagerly awaiting that multipurpose room. It looks like a building, actually. It's so great. So we're hoping for a winter opening. So thank you very much.
Moving on to item 5E, announcements. Go for it.
It's my pleasure to announce that earlier this month, the San Mateo-Foster City School District became a district-level member of the Asian Pacific Islander School Board Members Association. This is a network under the California School Board Association that exists to help advance issues of equity, educational justice, and unique challenges facing Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander students. In our district, those students make up roughly 30% of students that we serve, and it's especially timely given that May is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So I really want to thank Superintendent Ochoa and the board and others for helping to make this happen.
I'll just say briefly, we had a preview of Abbott Middle School's Matilda musical last time, and I saw Trustee Watkins there. It was really impressive, just from the singing and dancing all the way to the set design. I was just like blown away. And so congratulations to all of the students and parents and staff who worked so hard on that musical. I know it's a lot of work. Little known fact, I played a munchkin in The Wizard of Oz in 6th grade. And so it is, you know, it's definitely come a long way in terms of their production values. And so, and then secondly, on a totally different note, you know, we've heard from just, you know, we've heard from the community, both families and staff, certificated and classified staff. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who has brought concerns to us this year, both positive and negative, questions, you know, just kind of letting us know what their experience has been. You know, our Community Schools Initiative has really shown us the power of families making their voices heard. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who cares enough to show up and tell us how we can do better every day. So thank you.
I just wanted to give the community an update that I will be moving this summer, and so I will be resigning from the board effective August 1st. So the next meeting, I'm not a crier and I cried this the second time, my last meeting will be the next one. No.
I vote no. Oh, no.
I'll save the rest of my tears for June, so if you want to see me cry.
Okay. Are there any other announcements? Okay, well, that really put a damper on that one. Let's move on to item 6, which is the proposed consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted by the board in one motion in the form listed below. There will be no discussion on these items prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items be removed and discussed from the consent agenda. The superintendent and staff recommend approval of all consent items. Movement of any recommended consent item is appropriate at this time. Sorry, I was still thinking about Chara. So I guess there's more for me to do here. Are there? I was done with the meeting. Any members of the board like to remove any items from the consent agenda? Anybody in the audience that would like to remove items from the consent agenda? Anyone on Zoom, Joe, that would like to remove any items from the consent agenda?
Nothing on Zoom, President Proctor.
We can. Yes. Okay, thank you, Trustee Brooks for the motion and Trustee Trin for the second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, and aye. Any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? Okay. This passes 5-0. We will move on to item 7A, approval of SMFCSD and SMETA tentative agreement for 2024-2025 and salary schedules.
I'm very pleased to bring to you tonight the TA between San Mateo Foster City School District and the Teachers Association for the 24-25 school year. Both teams worked together as one united team to come up with an amazing tentative agreement that is put forth to you tonight, and we ask for your approval.
Thank you. Are there any clarifying questions from the board on this item? Any public comment in the room? Any public comment on Zoom?
Comments on Zoom at this time.
I'll just say that I know that this is a lot of work that goes into getting these agreements negotiated and dealt with. So thank you for the team, the district team, and for SMETA and the negotiations team on that side for working together and coming to this agreement. I know that this probably has gone a lot of work behind the scenes. So thank you for bringing this forward and working this out. So appreciate all the work here. Any other comments? Then we can vote on this. Thank you, Trustee Brooks for the motion and Trustee Kim for the second. All in favor, please aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes 5-0. We can move to 7B, which is approval of AB 1200. Approval of AB 1200, public disclosure of collective bargaining unit agreement with San Mateo Elementary Teachers Association.
AB 1200 is a document that we fill out every time we do come to a tentative agreement with any bargaining unit, and it outlines the financial outlook of what takes place once the agreement is settled. So it's kind of an outline of the budget around it, and it's something that's also approved by the county office. So we ask for your approval, please.
Clarifying questions? Any public comment from the room? Any public comment on Zoom?
No public comments on Zoom this time.
Okay, we can vote.
I'll move to approve this item.
Thank you, Trustee Trin for the motion and Trustee Brooks for the second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes 5-0. Moving on to item 7C, approval of declaration of need.
In order to obtain teachers that may need an emergency credential or a waiver of some sort during the school year, we must file a declaration of need. And it's an approximation of how many folks we might need to get an emergency credential for. This is a form that we fill out every year that we turn in and that enables us to hire people with emergency credentials and waivers.
Thank you. Are there any? Oh, all right. Any clarifying questions? Any public comment from the room? Any public comment on Zoom?
No public comments on Zoom at this time.
Okay, we can vote.
Make a motion to approve this item.
The motion and Trustee Kim for the second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes 5-0.
Cease.
Moving on to item 8A, school construction update, report of capital projects, measure T, X, and other funding sources, May 2024.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Ochoa. I'm excited to share with you tonight the latest construction update. Okay. So solar has finally begun out at the school sites. You can start to see our solar arrays up. At Fiesta Gardens North, the package has been submitted to DSA, and we estimate starting construction in early 2025. Our final bond sale for Measure X is going to be next month. We anticipate selling our next Measure T bond in the late summer and fall 2025. Some exciting news about some funding sources is our state bond fund eligibility. As of today, we are eligible for $22 million of state bond fund reimbursement. And by the year 2027, we'll have a total of $53 million that we'll be able to get as a reimbursement. Now, this is still pending the approval of the state bond. Hopefully this fall, there will be an initiative on our ballot. And these projects have already been completed in the district, so we're in the process of filing our funds. Now, schools are available to get these funds every 25 years. So it just happens we're in the middle of our past major modernization projects that happened 25 years ago. Here on Measure X, most of our projects are pretty complete here. Bowditch Middle School and Sunnybray Elementary multipurpose are in their final stages. That leaves then Fiesta Gardens North, and then our bus charging at Bayside will be our last active projects. With Measure T, we're really in the swing of things. I did hand out an addendum to this page that is on your desk. There was a formula error of completed projects. I decided they were counted twice. So I reflected here the new adjusted totals. Differences here from the last time you've seen it. Solar, we are having some change orders for some deeper footings and prepping for electric chargers. Turf phase 2, all of our sites now will have turf, even Abbott, Baywood, and Beresford, who didn't have any grass before. Restrooms, we've started a restroom modernization project. Currently, we have $5.6 million committed with open or completed contracts. That includes Sunnybray, San Mateo Park, Laurel, and North Shore View preschool restrooms. See here. At the bottom under funding sources, we are showing the solar IRS rebates from the Act in 2022. Also, we're available to get some local grants. So that's showing $4.9 million in pending funds once our projects are completed. We've also earned some interest, and that is shown below. At this point in our bond, we step back to really see what we have completed or is in progress, and we're really going through and checking those boxes from our 2020 immediate priorities. It was called the Facilities Master Plan for the next decade. When we see this modernization money coming in, we're really starting to look at updating our facilities master plan so we can plan on how to spend those dollars, and also to prep for what we hope would be a future bond. Here's some exciting photos. So you've toured the site at multiple times. This is Bowditch Science and Drama on the left. We just toured the science teachers through, and they got to pick their new furniture for the classrooms. On the right is the drama classroom. Sunnybray multi-purpose room, we had the ribbon cutting, and the school has started to use the space. Lead multi-purpose room, they're in the process of installing gypboard and the exterior skin. This is targeted to complete at the end of this summer. Highlands multi-purpose room, on the bottom right is the rendering of the completion. This is, like Carrie mentioned, that this will be completing towards the end of this calendar year. Wanted to show some before and after pictures. This is Laurel Elementary before our Measure T projects. And here's a new view showing the turf, the solar panels are up, and the paving that we did last summer. There's a shot of Abbott Middle School before the field project. And here's the latest drone photo showing the new field and the blacktop. Parkside multi-purpose room on the right. Because of our soil out there, we're having to drill and install very deep footings. So this has been in progress. This building is scheduled to complete in the summer of 25. Meadow Heights, we've just started the construction. They're starting to dig the footings. Also summer 25 completion. Solar shade structures, here's a view of Burrell from a drone shot. And on the left-hand side is Bayside. Pictures of restrooms. Here's the Sunnybrae preschool restrooms. They're shared by 2 different preschool classrooms. And I want to say thank you to my team. This is not possible without the hard work and dedication of our staff. And I just want to thank them for all the hard work they're doing now and the summer ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any clarifying questions from the board on this? Well, I just asked that question because I have a question. On the slides that show the budgets for the 2 bonds, at the bottom it shows funds not allocated. And so if I add those 2 up, it's almost 100 million between the 2 bonds. Is that just, is that money that's basically extra money, basically, that we get to do something with at some point?
So it's currently not allocated into a project
You're
yet.
unmuted. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now? So it's not currently allocated to a project. Back to our facilities master plan, where we had 809 million in need. So there are projects in the wings that didn't make it to the immediate projects of 2020. So Patrick and I and Diego will be starting to look at what are the next projects we would recommend bringing forward.
How are the next projects going to be determined?
Back in 2020, they were identified like modernization of windows, exterior modernization of casework and things like that. So we'll go through and do a ranking of who's in the most need. We also have to start looking at some of our structures. The state architect has changed on how we can modernize projects. So we have to do some feasibility, which will all align as we start to plan for our next bond. So there's a potential of moving some of those projects forward and doing them sooner before 26.
And President Proctor, if I can chime in. 4 years ago, we would have said, we hope that we have extra funding that's not allocated. And so, is there a way to mute that, Joe? Sorry. There we go. So we have a great head start because we have this fairly recent master plan for facilities. And I think as superintendent, I would ask that the board think of a process for us to really bring folks to the table, to really spend the amount of time we should spend when we get to the summer of 26 to really start to have a clear picture on how much unallocated funding there is, so that our commitments at that time really make the most sense for the school district. But it's certainly a good problem to have.
Amy, just a quick comment. Just a quick comment to Amy on the restroom modernization, the $61 million line item that's on there too, as part of the budget and part of the grand totals, right? Relative to the commitments. So that's a significant portion of work that still needs to be performed as well, right?
Correct. And we're bringing the first 5 sites.
We can't hear. I'm sorry, Amy.
Oh.
Just looking at the way it's.
Can you hear me now? So there's 61 in the budget column, but because we only have 5 million or so in contracts, we're going to be bringing them in phases, probably about 5 schools at a time. And so we're still completing our estimate. Right now, we hope we can complete all the scope for the 61 million and change, but there is a chance that that project could cost more. But that is shown in our committed budget, the 61 million.
Okay. So I think my point was about the funds not allocated. Well, this was a comment, so I'll just save it for later because it's not a clarifying question. Any other clarifying questions? Okay. Any public comment? Any public comment on Zoom?
On Zoom at this time.
Bringing it back to board comments, which I have one, just so happens. My point about the funds not allocated was that I wanted to make sure that we're having, discussions about it, just because I think everybody has their own thoughts and priorities, that it would be, as you said, Superintendent Ochoa, a good discussion to have as not only a board, but a community, and just think about our priorities, because even when we did the facilities master plan, that was, we had a different superintendent, we had a completely different board. We just had this shocking announcement just a couple of minutes ago that we're going to have a different, we'll have a completely new board once we do have this discussion. So just aligning ourselves with our priorities as we kind of move forward with this, and also our next bond, and we talk about it. So I just want to make sure that that's a discussion we're having, and not just like assuming we're all on the same page as where we were a couple years ago.
And just double clicking on that, I think kind of going through a similar process, because that was also, was this at the start of COVID, right? And so there are like a lot of kind of COVID related measures that that were taken into account with the last one. And I think I've mentioned this at a recent meeting, but it seems time for us to be starting to think about another bond, parcel tax, right? Like all of those things. It's been a while. And so having that conversation. So I do think it's worth like not just talking about it in the context of this chunk of money, but talking about it in a larger context, going through the prioritization, getting a sense from sites, communities, et cetera, around what the key needs are. And then thinking about what next steps in terms of what are the quick hits that we can kind of do now with what we have, and then what are the longer term pieces, what that means for a potential bond measure, which I think you all should consider very soon.
Any other?
Thank you so much for the update on this, Amy. And I think, again, I know I said this at the last school construction update, but it's just like really great to see these projects like moving quickly, like really, really great. So I'm just super grateful for all of the work that, you and the team are doing on this. And the facilities are beautiful and amazing and so needed. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that these facilities have really opened, on or ahead of schedule. And just like opening up more space for the kids to have assemblies and, community building events. So just really appreciative of all of the work that your team does.
Thank you.
Trustee Watkins said about the process in terms of next steps, making sure that it's more inclusive, not just looking towards a future bond measure, but just accounting for all the changes that have happened since the original facilities master plan, with everything we're doing around community schools and the campus swaps and all these new considerations, just making sure that's all accounted for. Also, I just want to echo what Trustee Trin said. We've had so many chances to go visit campuses, both to see the new construction opening, but in progress as well. And what we keep hearing from parents, teachers, staff is just how amazed they are by the amount of progress that we've made, by the, I don't want to jinx it, but the lack of hiccups or other kind of challenges that we faced. And so, yes, knock on wood, as I say it. But it's just, so when it comes to this kind of large scale construction, especially in the public sector, there's a lot of scrutiny, there's a lot of doubt. And if anything, our district has really outperformed expectations. So it's really just great to see that across the board. Again, not wanting to jinx our progress though.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Amy, and to your team. I think my fellow trustees have covered everything, and I want to just reiterate how proud I am to see the developments that are happening across our district with the new construction and those that are currently underway. I've been in the district for over 20 years, and I've seen some of the, dilapidated buildings and classrooms, and now I'm seeing some really good things. So thank you.
Thank you again for the update. I know we're heading into summer where I'm sure all these construction sites will just pick up steam and we'll come back in the fall and it's going to be, everything will look totally different. So best of luck to all of the crews that are just going to be so happy that there's not a bunch of kids getting in their way and parents and stuff. So yay. But thank you again for the update. So we can, this one we don't need to vote on or anything, but we can move on. We'll go to 8B, which is public hearing for the 2024-2025 budget adoption.
Yes, so this is a very simple, just opening the public hearing, and if folks want to comment on the budget.
Public hearing at 7:51 p.m.
And if anyone wants to make a comment in the public, then
Is there
the public to comment. Yeah. An obligatory component to President Proctor, and if there's no one in the public who wants to comment, we can move on to the next item.
Is there any public comment on this public hearing? Any public have anything to say? Anyone on Zoom?
Zoom at this time.
Okay. Next item.
Hearing at 7:52 p.m.
Okay. Next item is just an information item for you too. We'll walk through this with you. Fairly quickly.
Yes, 8C, or are we still on 8B? I don't understand these public hearings.
So you're on to 8C now. Yeah.
Information of 2024-2025 budget adoption draft.
We've shared with you again a SACS report. We share with you an executive summary. We have a couple of simple slides to walk through with you tonight. So thank you to the whole business services team who put a tremendous amount of work putting this together. So Blanca's here with us tonight too, if you have any specific questions. In the aggregate, the May revise didn't have anything significant that was going to impact our budget. So that's positive. Much of what's in our budget right now, our draft, which is a preface to the LCAP you're going to hear briefly just from a timing perspective. Much of it we had already integrated into the second interim multi-year projection we share with you already. So there's not significant variation from that. So much of what you'll see in the slide deck is information that was already in the second interim multi-year projection. Okay, and it's just showing where we're at in the cycle. We've developed the estimated actuals for the current year and the planned expenditures for the upcoming year. And we've shared with you assumptions prior to tonight about what this budget was built upon. This captures some of the budget highlights, what our tax revenue is looking like, what the COLA is looking like now, and then for the out years too in terms of funding for the COLA. We're going to wait and see what happens with the preschool funding, in particular the intended expansion of funding for inclusion relative to preschool, so that can impact us. So we're going to keep our eye and monitor that. And the superintendent and I were talking earlier today about reaching out to school service to get some clarity on that, okay? These next two slides, just recap for you some of the major assumptions. I won't walk through all those, but they're reference information for you. A lot of these are very standard, step and column, stirs and PERS increases, et cetera. What our property tax growth rates are. We built in a conservative 4% growth rate for each of those 3 years. And other items in here, such as what parcel tax revenues look like and what the mandated block grant looks like, et cetera. Okay, adopted budget general fund projections at a glance. We share with you what the combined revenues and expenditures are for the unrestricted and restricted funds and what our ending fund balances are looking like for the upcoming year. General fund revenues, we break those down a little more detail into all the different components. You'll see here we have the contribution that's referenced. There's growth in that contribution, which is relative to special ed and other items in there too. So we do anticipate some growth in that. We'll monitor what this year's ending actually looks like. Last year, you might recall that we had a variation in our contribution because of some late funding we'd received through the SELPA. So we'll monitor that again for this year and see how that influences our upcoming year. Adopted general fund expenditures, again, we've broken these down into unrestricted and restricted for the total of $213 million anticipated for the upcoming year. And then again, our multi-year projections, when we look at what our total expenditures are versus the revenue streams and what we are looking at in terms of our beginning fund balance and ending fund balance in each of these years. And you'll recall too that we have some one-time funds that we're spending down, and so that contributes to some of that expenditures in excess of revenues, because in order to spend down dollars that you have in your reserve, you have to deficit spend. So the deficit in and of itself is not negative, but that's a contributing factor to this overall component. The general fund multi-year projection, this is going to lead into an item that's coming up too, which is just an information item too, which talks about what the unrestricted reserve looks like, what those components are of those funds. And again, this is going to you'll see this in the slide that comes forward in a few more minutes in the next item. But this breaks down for you what the components of those are. Our 3% economic uncertainty reserve, our additional 3% reserve on top of that, plus the money that's set aside for some other components in the ending fund balance in each of these respective years, okay? Other funds, we give you a quick summary here too, what beginning fund balances are and ending fund balances are for the different funds in a snapshot version. And then again, it was telling you where we're at in terms of the budget cycle and what the next document that'll come forward to you is in the September timeframe after we adopt the budget in June, along with our adoption of the LCAP. Okay, so that's a quick summary for you tonight of what the budget's looking like. And again, just an information item tonight. You'll be acting on it at the June meeting.
Are there any clarifying questions? From the room? On Zoom?
No public comments on Zoom at this time.
Tell that I'm like itching to ask a question. Yeah. Patrick, I have one question. On the slide for unrestricted fund balance projection, when it says 1 month of payroll, why does it go down each year if usually payroll is either the same or increasing?
That's a placeholder relative to your overall payroll, and as we're spending on a reserve, that amount relative to the 1 month payroll, it's diminished. And if we have a variation like last year, when we had a variation when we closed the books between what we estimated what our actuals were, we earmarked those dollars towards that amount that's set aside for 1 month of payroll. So it doesn't match exactly, but that's also because we're showing we are spending down some of those dollars too. And so that'll fluctuate again like it did last year. You might recall we had an increase, and it's a placeholder relative to that 1 month payroll reserve.
So we're not like setting aside a month's worth of payroll.
It's set aside towards that. Sometimes we hit that exact amount, and sometimes it's less than that. So I can clarify that in that label.
Sides for like in case, we have a month saved up, but we don't.
Weights relative to the budget in a particular year.
Makes sense. Okay, then no other questions. Thank you. Then we can move on. 8D, public hearing 2024-2025 fund balance in excess of the minimum reserve level. So we can open the public hearing at 7:59 p.m. and the purpose of the hearing shall be to hear the public input regarding the fund balance of the 2024-25 adopted budget in excess of the minimum reserve level. Is that correct? Okay. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak during this public hearing in the room? Anyone on Zoom?
No public comments on Zoom at this time.
And then we can close the public hearing at 7:59 p.m. We can move on to, what are we on? 8E. We can receive information related to the 2024-2025 fund balance in excess of the minimum reserve level.
Yes, thank you. We looked at this in just another version of the slide I showed you just a few moments ago, but I'll show you the actual breakdown here in the form itself. And again, the same dollars you saw just a few moments ago. This breaks this down relative to what the combined assigned and unassigned unappropriated fund balances are. And then it breaks this down below here, the items we were talking about earlier relative to your 3% economic concern reserve, an additional 3%, which is your 6% reserve, which is part of your board policy. And there's dollars set aside again towards this 1 month of payroll reserve and some other components in there too that are categorized as total substantiated needs. So this is all components of your overall general fund unrestricted ending fund balance. Okay, just an information item.
Thank you. Are there any clarifying questions on this? Any public comment from this room? On Zoom?
Public comments on Zoom.
Board comments on this?
Thank you.
Okay, we can move on to 9A. Hold public hearing and review information on the local control accountability plan 2024-2025.
So good evening. It's my pleasure to bring to you in a kind of companion piece to the budget information that Patrick has shared, the proposed 2024-25 LCAP. As part of that process, we will invite you to open a public hearing around that to give an opportunity for public comment.
Well, let's open the public hearing at 8:02 p.m. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this public hearing from this room? Anyone on Zoom?
No public comments on Zoom.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 8:02 p.m.
We're in the same agenda item. We're going to propose an opportunity for information to share with you the LCAP and give you an opportunity to begin discussion. We could officially launch LCAP month here because we'll be back in a month at the regular board meeting at the end of June to ask for your approval. So let me share my screen, and I'm going to kind of walk you through the information that we have for you tonight. All right. So there's three parts to the LCAP that we're sharing with you this evening. The first part is what's called the budget overview for parents. This is a very short document that provides graphic and simple charts to summarize the money that's captured, again, sort of in sync with the information that Patrick just provided, what is captured in the LCAP. Just to recall that the LCAP is where we kind of, in effect, draw a link between funding and our strategic plan as a district. The LCAP does not include everything that we do. It does not include how we fund classroom teachers. It does not include how we fund facilities and things like that. It's primarily focused on the funding that we receive to address the needs of what are termed unduplicated students, which are students who come from families that are economically struggling, who are English learners, who are foster youth or homeless youth. So again, this budget overview for parents provides a summary, and we invite people, tonight as well as going forward over the next couple of weeks to spend some time looking at the information there. At the heart of this process really is the idea that we are engaging with our community and talking about what our strategic priorities are, reflecting on what we've done this year, and then planning going forward into the next year. So I'm gonna jump to one part of the actual 24-25 LCAP, which is a place where we summarize the culture of engagement that we have in the district. And I should share with you, at the same time that we're sharing this first draft with you, we have also done so with the San Mateo County Office of Ed, and have just gotten some feedback from them. And you'll see there's some places in the document where there's still some X's that need to be filled in and things like that. Please know this is a first draft. We will, based on that feedback from the county, and also completing some additional assessments, we'll fill in some of that information for your final approval in June. But I do want to note that we got specific high commendation, I guess you could say, from the county on the variety and depth of engagement with our educational partners. And I just want to note that the monthly board study sessions that you all have chosen to hold stand out as sort of an exceptional way to dive into the elements of our strategic plan and our LCAP, and are important moments for the public and our partners in general to give feedback. Of course, also there's the monthly board community workshops. There is the obviously highly successful work we've done around our community schools work. There's also the students, superintendents. I know we doesn't actually call it a student council, but it's his gathering of students and getting feedback from them, as well as a variety of other engagements and surveys that are captured here, where we try to give, we try to gather ongoing feedback about our work and elicit input from our educational partners. So just wanted to acknowledge that's kind of the heart of this thing, is to have a healthy process of hearing and receiving and responding to what we think are the important ways we're getting better as a district in support of our students and families. A lot of that engagement then gets captured in this second section, which is the annual update. This is a specific section. It's a little bit different this year because we're making a pivot. We've closed out a 3-year cycle of LCAPs this year, and we're launching, going into next year, another 3-year cycle. So this annual update is held a little bit separately. And when you go to the 24-25 LCAP, you'll see some places where it says, the reflection questions are not applied this year because they're captured in this annual update, and we will work on those after next year. So if you have questions about why is this section blank in the actual LCAP, that's what's going on. So again, this annual update is really a place where we can look at our 3 goals, which of course aligned with our strategic plan are about academic achievement, equity, and wellness. We look at our metrics. We talk about the progress we've made we display the progress we've made over the last 3 years in those metrics. And then we spend time responding to a series of questions about our actions in this 23-24 year. The first question is, did you do anything different than what you planned in the LCAP for this year? And so you'll see item by item there. We talk about, we implemented as planned, or we made a decision to change. And so there's a series of comments about that. And then there's a feedback on talk about any actual material differences in the budget, what you planned to spend and what you ended up spending. There's a chart in the third piece that I'm going to get to that lays that out in just a chart format. But here we look at the specific items that really, if there was more than a 10% variance in what we planned, we have to acknowledge it and speak to why that variance occurred. Third question is, how effective or ineffective was this work? This is where we pull on our data and we respond to whether the actions have, in fact, made an improvement as we hoped. And then the final is, given all that, how do you plan to go forward with these actions into the 24-25 school year? So the annual update is it's a big reflection document posing those questions that we've responded to. And then lastly, there is the section that's the actual LCAP itself. There's a variety of compliance sections that kind of provide overviews and some statements about challenges and where we feel we've been successful. And then it gets to kind of the heart of the LCAP, which is, again, our 3 goals. We've laid out, in some cases, some new metrics for this 3-year cycle of the LCAP, although there's probably 90% consistency between the old LCAP and this one. So you'll see those metrics, you see the baseline and the targets that we would have in 3 years. And again, there are some X's in there, which we will fill in based on some data that we're waiting to get just in June. So we'll come back with those filled in. And then there is the listing of, and this is just to say, this is that not applicable section I was referring to. So don't be alarmed at that. It's actually what's meant to be in the other document, the annual update. And then here you'll see the statements about the specific actions in each of the goal areas, the total funds that we're allocating toward that. And contributing just refers to for supplemental dollars that we spend, which are meant to contribute to increased or improved services for students. So basically above and beyond. Where you see it checked as contributing, it is above and beyond, and its funding source, at least partially, is in supplemental funds. So it's kind of a compliance point. So let me just pause there. Really, as we said, there's several weeks here to spend some time with this, but I'm happy to turn it back to you for any questions or comments at this time.
Any clarifying questions? Okay. Any public comment from the room? Any public comment from Zoom?
Comments on Zoom at this time.
Any board comments?
Thank you for putting all this together. It's a lot, actually, and I just would encourage anyone who wants to know how we're doing on a variety of different of our plans to kind of look and see what the data shows. And I know that we are continuing to work on all of these things. So thank you so much.
Yeah, just echo the thanks. I know that this is always like a major process. And I think the sort of goal analysis, like I really appreciate kind of that piece where we're really reflecting on like, how did we do with all the things we said that we were going to do? And what does that mean we're going to do moving forward? So yeah, thank you for all of the work putting this together. And that's it.
Just want to echo the other trustees in terms of our appreciation. I guess this is sort of a clarifying question, but it's more just for the next meeting, I guess. When we talk about the achievement indicators and wellness indicators, and we see certain small drop-offs or certain concerns, and I know in our reflection we addressed kind of the steps that we would take. I guess I'd be curious to know, we've talked about this in past meetings, once we have the data, we do talk about those remedial steps, but how much of a deviation is our plan laid out here from what we've already been doing or what we would have suggested regardless of what the data showed? I'm always just curious to the extent that we make corrections, obviously not overcorrecting or reacting to every number we see, but how much additional thought or concern we put in when we do see minor slippages or other concerns that do raise an interest in terms of whether or not the way we're going is sufficient. But that's more just, when we get to the more final stages of the process and have all the final information.
Thank you, David. This is a lot to digest, and I really appreciate all the work that's in here. It's I really love to see the kind of the roadmap of where we're going, and also the kind of reflection back on where we came from. So appreciate all the work here.
Thank you.
I think with that we can move on to item 10A.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Ochoa. I'm really honored to present to you resolution number 22, 23, 24, acknowledging June 2024 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer LGBTQ+ Pride Month. This resolution is aligned to the San Mateo-Foster City School District Strategic Plan under the equity goal, inclusion, safety, and empowerment. The San Mateo-Foster City School District is committed to supporting dignity, equity, and visibility for all people in the community, including our diverse LGBTQ+ community. June has historically become a symbolic month in America and across the globe, where LGBTQ+ persons and allies come together in various celebrations of pride to support the community's right to live their lives openly and without fear. The rainbow flag, created in 1978 here in San Francisco, or the Bay Area, has 6 distinct colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. That has come to be known as the internationally recognized symbol of the LGBTQ+ community. The colors reflect the diversity of the community in addition to the spectrum of human sexuality and gender. This evening, staff brings this resolution to you for your consideration. Thank you.
Dennis, are there any clarifying questions from the board on this item? Okay, we're going to go to public comment. Are any? Can we read it? Yeah, I'm just going to. Do you want to read it first before we do public comment? Is there any public comment in the room here? Okay. I'll just do public comment real quick and then I'll come back. Any public comment on Zoom on this item?
On Zoom.
Let's read it. We'll go in our rotation here and we'll start with Trustee Brooks. Do you have it? Everybody have it open? Yes. I'll give you a second if you need to open it. Trustee Trin, do you have it open? Okay. So you can start and we'll just go down the row.
San Mateo-Foster City School District Resolution 22-23-24. Resolution acknowledging June 2024 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer LGBTQ+ Pride Month and Pride Flag. Whereas the month of June 2024 has been designated as LGBTQ+ Pride Month, and the San Mateo-Foster City School District models, advocates, actively supports, and promotes inclusive and respectful treatment of all students, employees, family members, and community members. And
whereas it is a policy of the San Mateo-Foster City School District that all persons, including those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and/or non-binary, queer, questioning, intersex, agender, and asexual, have an equal and non-discriminatory opportunity to a quality public education experience. And
the San Mateo-Foster City School District recognizes that years of struggle for freedom and civil rights by LGBTQ+ people have contributed to the rich history of collective action championing equity for all people, and
the San Mateo-Foster City School District believes all students deserve to feel safe, welcome, and accepted in their schools, to be known by their affirmed name, gender identity, and story, and to see themselves represented in the curricula and staff. And
whereas many LGBTQ+ people and people perceived to belong to these groups still face harassment and physical violence in communities, and
the San Mateo-Foster City School District deplores harassment and physical violence or the threat of such against any of our students, faculty, staff, and families. And
whereas globally and nationally, LGBTQ+ people are experiencing a sharp increase in the rollback of their civil rights, including new educational laws that restrict the acknowledgement and teaching of their history, identities, support, and needs in public schools, and legal bans on accessing healthcare, sports teams, facilities, and programs. And
the San Mateo-Foster City School District Board of Trustees believes that the rich variety and diversity of families and communities is one of the San Mateo-Foster City School District's strengths, and furthermore believes that a family is a supportive unit composed of various intersectionalities such as genders, sexual orientations, cultures, races, ethnicities, and religions. And
whereas the San Foster City Board of Trustees values and celebrates the diverse voices and experiences of our students, teachers, staff, administrators, and families, including the diversity of sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, and intersectional identity in our community. And
be it resolved that the San Mateo-Foster City Board of Trustees and San Mateo-Foster City School District will provide adequate training to all staff and education to students in service of fulfilling our duty to protect LGBTQ+ youth aligned with California law and SMFCSD board policies. And now, therefore,
be it resolved that the San Mateo-Foster City Board of Trustees and the San Mateo-Foster City School District is committed to supporting ally clubs such as Gender Sexuality Alliance clubs in middle schools and Rainbow clubs in elementary schools that support LGBTQ+ youth and allies to meet in safe and supportive environments, learn about LGBTQ history and identities, promote education and understanding, and aim to reduce bullying, harassment, and now, therefore,
be it resolved that the San Mateo-Foster City Board of Trustees and San Mateo-Foster City School District proclaim that during each and every annual LGBTQIA+ Pride Month in June, the updated Progress Pride rainbow flag will be flown at each school and facility within the San Mateo-Foster City School District to signify support and respect for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and/or non-binary, queer, question, intersex, agender, and asexual community. And now, therefore,
be it resolved that the San Mateo-Foster City Board of Trustees and San Mateo-Foster City School District reaffirms its commitment to making SMFCSD a safe haven for LGBTQ+ youth, staff, and families, fostering a vibrant community that supports all people to be free to express the most authentic version of themselves so that we can learn together in a culture of respect and inclusion.
right. Well, are there any board comments on this resolution?
I would like to make a comment. I would like to thank you for bringing this resolution forward. I do have something that I would like to say regarding the flag flying in our district. I'm not necessarily in favor of the flag flying, although I am completely in agreement with everything identified here in this resolution. I really hope that we can get to a place where we promote human kindness, which includes a rainbow flag and everyone under it, instead of a segregatory way of isolating a certain group based on having a preference of sex, especially at this age level. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing this forward. I think about, we started the Equity Task Force in 2018, and this was one of the topic areas that was prioritized by the students, members of the Equity Task Force. It was something that was raised really early on as an area of concern. And we had 2 students at the time, neither of whom, at least in that setting, identified as LGBTQ+, but had many friends that they had witnessed just having a lot of struggles in our middle schools. And, you know, just raised it as just a key equity issue in our district, and something that we started to spend a lot more time discussing at that time. And I know there have been a lot of varying initiatives related to, supporting our students that identify as LGBTQ+ over the years. And so I'm, really grateful to all of the work that has taken place, all of the resources that we have devoted to supporting, our students, having a TOSA that's supporting our students and just supporting our staff. I know, one of the things we talk in this resolution about, ensuring that we have kind of ally clubs, et cetera, for our students. And, one of the things just to raise is like, the support that we have for our teachers and staff as well that identify, and where are the safe spaces that we have for those individuals, and want to make sure that we're prioritizing that need as well. And so just really grateful. I know, yeah, and I appreciate kind of some action-oriented items in the resolution. I think it's like one thing to say, like, we affirm this, we believe this. It's another thing to take a stance and say, we are going to, ensure that we support clubs, that we're going to fly, a flag in support to like visibly show that we're supporting this. And so I think some, taking those stances at times can be difficult, but I think really, really important. And so appreciate the inclusion of those items, that in this resolution. And thank you, to Dennis and the team. I know that we have some folks that are involved in this work in the audience. So thanks to all of you for all of the work that you've done to ensure that our schools continue to be safer spaces for, our students. And I know I've sat in a variety of different meetings where we've heard a lot of feedback from, we still have people in our community that do not think that this is something we should talk about with kids, that don't think that we should, be reading diverse sets of books with our students, that think that these are not topics that should be, that should be discussed or valued. And so I just, I really am grateful that we are in a district that has a board and district staff and so many students and families that, want to ensure that, we have safe spaces for all of our students. And at this moment, we're particularly talking about a group of students that hasn't always had that space in the same way that we have for other groups of students that often don't have that space. So just thank you, and to really inclusive and supportive and fun Pride Month ahead.
I want to say thank you as well. I attended the Colorful Connections event. I believe it was last Saturday, and it was just really beautiful to see families coming together to celebrate their identity. I mean, I certainly didn't ask like if the kids there identified, but as anything in particular, some of them were happy to tell me how they identified, and I think that that is just so lovely for kids to be so, confident and supported at that age, no matter how old they are. And I know that, we often say that kids are too young to discuss certain issues. Certainly, like there's age-appropriate discussions to be had, but in terms of what families look like, they're never too young to learn that families come in all kinds of shapes and sizes and appearances. And, it could be one parent, could be two parents, it could be adoptive parents, it could be all sorts of different ways that people form families and loving relationships. And I have spoken before in the past of how I certainly have friends and acquaintances whose children at a very young age have identified that there's something different about themselves, whether they have the language to express it, that comes with time. But what I wish is for every child to feel safe, whether it's with their own family or at school or their chosen family, to feel safe in becoming who they are and in whatever way that they want to express themselves. So this is so much more about than, I would say, in my experience, this is about so much more than sexual preference or sexual orientation. It's really about selfhood and really, people learning how to be themselves. And so I just want to say that it's never too early to think about, those things.
I just want to echo what my fellow trustees just said. Also, thank you, Dennis, for your leadership on this issue. I think, and I've commented on this before, the fact that we live in an era now where the rhetoric and the sentiment is becoming dangerous and regressive in a situation where we see so many LGBTQ plus youth and also other communities of color being put up as a wedge in school districts all across the country, and where it seems like the progress that we've seen over the last 10, 20 years is starting to hit a wall and a backlash. I'm exceptionally proud to be a trustee in a district that is really committed to making sure that our schools will be a safe place that respects diversity, equity, inclusion, and it doesn't shy away from that mission of making sure that every student feels like a part of this community, that their families and everyone can come as their true and authentic selves. And regardless of our personal beliefs or values, that all of us are committed to creating that space. And again, in a time of tremendous global pain and suffering and conflict and a massive, political election that's going to only make situations worse in a lot of these conversations, I'm proud to be a part of this board and this district in a way that really stands with all of our communities and lets them know that they're welcome and that we're here to serve them and we're here to serve them to the best of our ability. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Dennis, for all of your work on this, and thank you for, really the work that you've done to make our schools safe and welcoming, and thank you to really all of the educators and everyone on campus for everything they do to make our schools safe for kids. I've said it, numerous times that I really feel that it's important for kids to feel like they belong and that they're safe at school. And so, as a school board member and as a mom, when I walk into a classroom and I see a teacher that has a rainbow flag that says, ally or you belong or whatever it is that flag says under, and the words that say under it, to me that makes me feel good because I know that kids are safe in that classroom, that they can go to that teacher and that they can share whatever they need to share and that that's a safe place for them. And so for me, when I read this resolution, not only do I know that our campuses are safe, but now that I know that there's going to be a rainbow flag in the month of June, I know that kids are going to see that when they drive by, whether they go to that school or not. Adults are also going to see it, and they're going to say, "This is a school district. This is a school where people are safe and they're welcome and they're included. No matter who you are, you belong here. And you may not go to this school, but you know that that's a place where you are a member, and no matter who you are." And so I really appreciate the work that everybody in the school district is doing to make sure that everybody feels like they belong, that they're welcome, and that they're safe. I really think that it's important that kids feel like people value who they are and that they can be who they are. And so I think it was last school board meeting, I know that the topic wasn't positive, but we had I think it was a teacher or a staff member that came up, and I'm already probably using the wrong pronoun. So they came up and said that they were transgender. And so, just being able to be an employee who comes up and feels comfortable in this school district to be who they are is also important. So I appreciate that this resolution is saying that employees and are welcome here and are safe here. I think that this is really important. So our school district is kind of stepping out beyond just like everybody just come to work and do your job. Everybody is safe and welcome here. So I really want to thank you, Dennis, for doing this before you move on to retirement and taking this bold step. So thank you, and this is important work. So thank you.
This one's up for a vote, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution acknowledging June 24 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month and Pride Flag.
She did it already. Okay, thank you, Trustee Watkins for the motion and Trustee Kim for the second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, this passes 5-0.
Thank you. I'm speechless, actually. I mean, I just have to add that I wasn't going to, in my head, I wasn't going to say anything, but I think it's important I do. In the 70s, when I thought about being a teacher, it wasn't okay. I knew that I was gay, and Anita Bryant, for those of you that might be older, made it clear to the country, parts of it, that it wasn't okay to be out and an educator. But I did become a teacher and moved to LA in the early mid-'80s. And my very first gay pride parade was in Los Angeles. And I went to that parade and I got sunburned. I went to work the next day. It was a Sunday. Monday, I went to work and a colleague said, "Oh, you got some sun this weekend." And I said, "Yeah, I was at the pride parade." And this was in the mid-'80s. And they said, "Don't tell anyone you went to the parade." I'm like, "Why?" Because people aren't going to be okay with that. And some of you might be too young to remember those days, but AIDS was an issue. People were very fearful. You couldn't be gay and out. But I continued to just be who I was and am and did my job. And now I'm ending my career in a way that just makes me so proud to know that it's just okay to be who you are. I don't know what more to say about that, but it's just, I couldn't have imagined as a young person that I'd ever be in this spot. So thank you, and I appreciate it for everybody. So thank you.
Never ending. I'm just like one cry after another. Okay. All right. Moving on to 11A, which is approval of the 2024-2025 board meeting dates.
The board. This is an annual item at this time of year. We announce publicly our expected board meeting dates. Joe, if you could just project on the attachment to this document. And these documents will live on the district's website. As you know, we have a process to notify the public about our regular school board meetings, as well as the development of our schedule for our special board study sessions. At any given time, the board is authorized and has the capacity to add a meeting or move a meeting. But this is our annual process to announce publicly when we plan to meet. We're keeping the meetings at the same time and on the same days. Everything has been updated to reflect the 24-25 school year dates. And then on the last page, you have a proposal before you to adopt school visitation schedules that mimic the process we began this year, in which we invite members of our stakeholder groups and members of our partner groups to attend school visitations with us in a way that allows them to see the good work that our educators are doing every day with our children, and to really use school visitations as a way to celebrate. We did change the timing of those visitations. As you know, we ran into some issues this year in May. We ran into a couple of schools where state testing was happening. And then on other occasions, we ran into circumstances where we just really didn't have enough time to go from one school to the next. And it really felt that we were just rushing too much to get from one place to the other. So this is an agenda item that President Proctor and I looked at and wanted to bring to the board for your consideration and approval this evening. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the board for questions and comments.
Are there any questions on this?
I did want to ask the district and board for the August 22nd meeting, if we would be open to considering a different week, whether 29th or 15th. I'm aware that I'll be standing conflict. If I'm the only one, it's not an issue. But there is a national event that conflicts with that. And so wanted to see if there, and I believe our first day of school is the 13th. Is that correct?
I think every educator would welcome it. Certainly every member of the team that presents to the board would be more than happy to have that meeting on the 29th. So I would just, from the practitioner level, only because it's so close to the start of school, that would be a welcome change. And then we would just notate that on the agenda that this one particular meeting is held a week later. So.
What is that?
Like, yes, but it's not in here, it's not happening. So I always get in trouble if I don't look at this first. For everyone, this is like a huge planner.
It's
What happened to Google Calendar?
It's too crowded. This is what.
Maggie, you should be teaching class.
Any other questions on this? Okay, any public comment on our calendar? Any public comment on Zoom?
I know it's weird that I have a comment since I'm not going to be here, but I just have. Yeah, no, and you can let me know if I'm supposed to vote on this or not. But no, I just have one comment about the school visitations. I have really appreciated the format of the kind of partner visits. One thing I would request that you all kind of consider for the time is, so we've tried a variety of different models with school visits. I know we've talked about it here, and prior to your tenure, we tried a variety of different things. One of the things I really appreciated when we made a shift where we would get to schools before the school day started and have time with teachers and staff to be able to come and speak with the board, because it's, you go there, you go into their classrooms, and there's no time for any conversation. So to the extent that you all are able to make adjustments to the time and or provide, whether it's like over a break where folks can come in and pop in, whether it's before the start of the school day, I just think it would be a good opportunity to ensure that the teachers and staff at these sites have an opportunity to interact with the board and district staff and other partners that are there. So that's just one comment.
Okay.
Motion to approve the 2024-2025 board meeting dates with the adjustment that the August board meeting will be set to August 29th, 2024.
Thank you, Trustee Kim. Yeah. And thank for the motion, and Trustee Brooks for the second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Yeah. Any abstentions? Okay, that passes 5-0. Okay. Item 11B, adoption of resolution for the election of 3 governing board members.
Thank you, President Proctor. This item is a item we bring to the board prior to any election during a regular election year. As you know, we're lined up for a November election. At present, we have 2 trustees who were elected by trustee area. That's President Proctor and Trustee Brooks, who reside in areas 1 and 2 of the district. And what this resolution sets forth is an explanation of the 3 areas that are up for re-election in the November election. And those are areas 3, 4, and 5. Though this resolution authorizes the school district to work with the county elections office to complete the necessary paperwork to announce the election and to pursue this election process so that come November, we will have 3 duly elected new members of the board whose terms begin in 2024 and whose terms end in 2028 should they complete their terms. So this resolution came to the board 2 years ago with the slight change of trustee areas 1 and 2 listed. At the time, it was the first time we had a regular election by trustee area. And we, at the time, had 3 trustees who remained on the board as at-large elected board members. And so this will be the first time that we have by trustee area trustees in areas 3, 4, and 5. And this item is up for your approval, and I'm available for any comments or questions from the board. Thank you.
On this?
I didn't have a chance to check this independently, but just confirming that it should say 123 days, as it says.
It should say 123 days.
Any public comment? Any public comment from the room? Any public comment from Zoom?
No public comments on Zoom.
On this? Okay, who's ready for a vote?
Second. Oh.
Okay, thank you for the motion, Trustee Brooks, and thank you for the second, Trustee Watkins. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, this passes 5-0. Moving on to item 12, board member statements and requests for future agenda items.
I just realized we're not going to have another meeting till after school ends. So awesome. I hope everyone has a wonderful end of the school year, an amazing summer. Yeah, I didn't put that together. So I'm not really prepared for that element. So if you want more from me, come back in June. And there was something else I was going to say. Oh, I know that I brought this up last time, Superintendent Ochoa, but for my last meeting, can we please talk about PTA funding? Thank you very much. Yes, next meeting. I'm not making any
Please bring all your comments about Shara to the next meeting because we're really going to go all out. Don't waste them right now.
Don't make any. It's not agendized.
For June, plenty to say. First, I just wanted to thank Smita for hosting Trustee Watkins and I earlier this month for that meeting. We thought it was just a really amazing experience to be able to take that time. Really appreciate all of the teachers who came out after school to have that opportunity to speak with us, and hope we can do that again with the other trustees as well. If anything, the takeaway was that we didn't have enough time to cover everything, and just really recognize how important that partnership is. So look forward to doing that again in the future. I also wanted to give a shout out to College Park, Principal Esunina and Amy and Ben Tai, who helped to host an event earlier this month in honor of AA and HBAC Heritage Month with the organization Asian Women Are Strong. Sessions, our board meetings. Again, not knowing that June is all we have for now, so I guess it's more towards next year. I think we mentioned before the school nutrition and kind of everything that's happening on that front is something we hear a lot about from parents. And so I know we have some exciting developments that we hope to put together this summer. So we'd love to have a chance to really not only hear about those, and maybe even have an opportunity to tour the facilities and really see what we're doing on the ground. And then also one thing that came up in our meeting earlier this month was what's happening in special education, what's happening with the TLC pilot program and some of the other initiatives that are out there. And I know the trustees are very interested in learning more about what we can do on that front and getting an update on everything we're doing, especially with SPED and everything else in our district. So thank you.
I had a couple of things to say. One was I wanted to apologize for missing our study session last time on community schools. I was trying to be in two places at once. I was at the Bowditch PTSA Founders Day Awards. I received an award. I was gonna just pop over and get my award and then pop right back in, but then I got really sidetracked because a lot of really amazing people won awards and I wanted to hear about them. And my little pitch to everyone is, if you get a chance to attend a Founders Day Award or ceremony at your kid's school or any school that you go to or pop by, definitely go, because I learned a lot of information about people at Bowditch particularly, but really any school you can go to, about the people that really make everything happen at the school. And I think what we don't hear about teachers and staff at the school is what they do beyond just the work that you see them do. And, a lot of the teachers that are there, they serve on committees and they do a lot of things beyond just the work that you see them doing in the classrooms and all of the work that they do with your kids and stuff. And it's just amazing the work that everybody's doing and the volunteer work that they do, and the coaching and the tutoring and everything that people are doing to make the school run and make our kids' lives so much better. And at Bowditch in particular, that day, there was some teachers that were retiring, and there were some teachers that had come back. That teacher that had taught there 30 years ago or something. He was there when Bowditch opened, and a student that was there 30 years ago that's now the basketball coach. She was there receiving an award. And really what it boiled down to was you guys were having a study session about community schools. And what I was at Bowditch receiving an award, what I learned there was, although it's not a community school, really every school is a community school because it takes a whole community to really make a school run. And so if you get a chance in a year from now, when these Founders Day things come back up, attend them because you learn a lot about the community that makes the school, what it is. And so, sorry I missed the study session, but it was also a great event to attend. Now, my second thing about requests for future agenda items, we just talked about elections for new governing board members. And so I thought with that coming up soon, I thought it might be a good idea to add to our future agenda would be maybe having a governance session type thing, and also talking about what are some of the things for future board members and also current board members, but talking about some of the board member benefits and like things like benefits and trainings and kind of like onboarding type stuff for board members. Cause I think we have a bunch of new board, or technically several of us are new, but then also we're going to have potentially one to two or three people that could be on this board. And so I think as people may be interested in running for election, they may want to know what does it look like to be a board member and what comes with it. And so I think having that discussion would be beneficial. So I would like to add that to our agenda. Governance, benefits, that kind of thing, if possible. Was there another thing I was going to say? Anybody else?
I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I just want to say thank you to the team that put on the event yesterday for community schools. It was a really nice event to see, so many families and staff and administrators there to celebrate. And, I got to talk to some parents whose kids don't go to the same schools as mine, but whose, has been with the district quite a number of years and has been very vocal and active. And it's just really just amazing to see how empowered and committed these parents are to their students' success. And I want to, even though we're now moving into the implementation part of the grant, I really want to continue to, engage with those families. And I just want to say thank you so much for that opportunity.
If I could, Trustee Trin, just reiterate something for those that weren't present. One of our principals spoke at the event. I'm still thinking about what she said to the families. She said, not the anecdote about her husband, and that she told a funny story about that too. But she said to all the parents at Lead Elementary School, I promise that if you keep talking to us, we'll keep listening. And I'm just like, man, if we all just thought about that in every interaction we have, if I'm a department chair at this district and saying to my colleagues, if you keep talking to me, I'll keep listening, or if I'm a principal saying that to my teachers, or if I'm a teacher saying that to my kids, or if I'm a school board member, it just resonates in every interaction we have. If you keep talking, we'll keep listening. It's just, to me, that was just, wow. She really got me with that one. And that is at the heart of, of the community schools work.
Sorry. Two other things. You guys are making me think about it. I wanted to comment on the community schools event, and just, I know that I also was like in and out because I was really sick that night of the study session, but just like immense gratitude for all the work that's gone into that. The event last night was incredible. And when I think and it's related to like the resolution we just talked about, and so many things that we talk about as a board, just in terms of how we're thinking about redistributing power and disrupting systems, and making sure that people feel safe in space. But I just like, as I sat there and listened to parents and students speak, and just like they were like, this is their space, right? They're talking about their schools. They're talking about, they, in ways that, many of them shared kind of outside of that context while we were eating dinner or whatever, in ways that they have never felt that they could do in this district, many of whom have been here for many, many, many years. And so, that's what that is about. And I think Natalie's comment was spot on, as you mentioned, Superintendent Ochoa, and also just like, that is the work, and that is just like so incredibly powerful. Like I just was just sitting there in awe, of how this initiative has been one piece of just empowering members of our community that now are like, I deserve to be here. I have something to say, and I'm going to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it, and how much better and stronger that's going to make us as a district. So just thank you to everyone who's been a part of that initiative. And I also wanted to just thank, the Abbott team for Matilda was able to go. I brought both of the girls, and just a quick story about that. So at the end, they were, thanking everybody. And one of the students was talking about, she's like, I remember when I was like watching different musicals and plays and thought that, like never imagined that I'd be here. And she was like, there's some little girl sitting in the audience, or some kid, she didn't say little girl, some kid sitting in the audience thinking like, oh my gosh, that could be me. And my older daughter was like, she's talking about me. She's talking about me. And then was like, should I go on stage? And I was like, no. But yeah, maybe she is talking about you. It was pretty cute. So I was like, it was just, they're incredible performances. And I just like, it's every year when I go, I'm just like in awe. I'm like, these are 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, like participating in these like incredible productions. And I know that there's like this, these incredible teams behind it that make it happen. And our students are just incredible, and our teams are so incredible. So thank you all. Thank you to the team at Abbott. And I know all the teams across all of our middle schools in particular that are providing those opportunities for kids to shine in ways that, they probably never thought they could, and giving them that opportunity. So it's pretty incredible.
Trustee Watkins, the kids are never going to forget that. Their whole life, even your kids are going to remember that experience. And I'm going to let everybody know what I heard that parent tell you at dinner last night. I introduced Shara to this parent who was, just sharing his experience of like what he's felt like over the last 3 years with community schools. And I said, Trustee Watkins is one of the like main people who pushed really, really hard for us to do things like this. And, a night like tonight wouldn't really be possible without her. And so this parent said, but she's going to move to Los Angeles. She's leaving. And then he goes, oh, that's okay. He said, you have to go down to Los Angeles and do this over there.
I was like, I'm taking a break.
That was his like first comment to her was like, it's actually okay. Like, but think about that, Trustee Watkins. He was like, you're leaving, but your work's not done. Like, go to this new place, because that's how much it's changed his and his children's lives. Is like, he's thinking like, no, like he's a believer. He's like, no, we need to be doing this everywhere. So you're not off the hook.
Sorry.
Start my comment by just stating human kindness, peace, and attending the event yesterday really showed how incredible we can be as a community, including every student, all the staff who are going to be present to help our kids in ways that will be with them for the rest of their lives, shaping their foundation us being able to come to a place where we have included all of our students and addressing their needs. Thank you for putting those initiatives in place, and watching the developments are just incredible. It's so refreshing to see what's happening. I also want to make a comment about the symposium that we attended about the climate change and all the good things that are happening in our schools that we teach in our kids to help our planet, our earth, our communities. It's amazing to see how our kids are receiving the education and the tools and the supports to help them be better people and grow into their own. That's very important, and it's enlightening to see. I would like to request that we address our faculty housing. It is needed, and we really need to address the housing issue for our teachers in our district. I would say as a priority, and I'm hoping that we can make that a priority coming. And finally, I just would like to say, have a wonderful summer. I didn't realize how close we were to to this break, but I am looking forward to it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready. So thank you.
Item number 13 is future meeting dates, and our next meeting is June 27th. Moving right along. Item 14, public comments on closed session items. Do we have any public comments on the closed session items in this room? Any on Zoom? Okay, we're going to recess to closed session. Again. Good night.
7 hours. Julie.
Hi, Joe, are we on live? Can you hear me?
You were on.
Okay, hi, everyone. We're reconvening from closed session with a few items to report out. Okay, so item 15A, a majority of the board voted 5-0 to approve a compromise agreement with parents of a student to resolve potential and threatened claims against the district in exchange for approximately $4,600 in funding for a student's private speech and/or occupational therapy for services for the 2022-2023 through 2024-2025 school year. That was unanimous. Item 15B, a majority of the board voted 5-0 to approve a compromise agreement in the Office of Administrative Hearings, case numbers 2024020815 and 2024040981 to resolve claims raised against the district in exchange for $84,000 in funding for a student's educational expenses incurred or will incur during the 2023-2024 and 2024-2025 school years. That was unanimous. And item 15C, a majority of the board voted 5-0 to approve a compromise agreement in Office of Administrative Hearings, case numbers 2024030784 and 2024020402 to resolve claims raised against the district in exchange for a total not to exceed $13,000 in funding for a student's incurred attorney's fees related to the due process matter and educational expenses incurred during the 2022-2023 school year through July 24, 2024, and one district-funded independent educational evaluation, and that was also unanimous. Okay, we can now take a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Brooks for the motion and Trustee Kim for the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we are adjourned at 9:15 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Good night.